Untamed is going to be untamed. It's going to be a little crazy. I want to talk to my people. I want to talk to my brothers and sisters. We can have grace and humility in how we interact with other people.
Oh, hot dog, look at you.
And nobody talked about what's really happening.
And let's have conversations about what truth is. It's Monday. We only have a few days left until the new year, and lots happening right now in a lot of different ways. And when I mean a lot of different ways, I mean a lot of different ways. So I'll start off by saying this: if you missed it, go ahead and hit the share button. And I think I owe it to you to kind of give you a heads up. For those of you that don't know, but I did on Friday declared that I will be running for governor. So I'll just put this post up and Patrick will put it in the comments. And so here's my announcement to questions. Yes, I'm declaring for governor of Colorado race. Now, right after I did this, they had a bunch of people that wrote these articles about me, 9 News, the Denver Gazette, all these different things, saying that I was the guy that called for the execution of my political foes. That's not what happened at all. But the radical left has only one thing that they can do and one thing that they can hold on to, and that is the perpetual lie. They have perpetually lied about everything. Now, in these articles, they also said that I had unfounded 2020 election. I was a part of the 2020 election fraud conspiracy that never existed. There's so much information that we have about Dominion Voting Systems, ES&S, Eric Coomer, John Polos. We have people that are whistleblowers from different countries, and they will continue to parrot this nothing to see here, nothing to see here, nothing to see here. They will repeat it over and over and over again. Misinformation, disinformation. These people are owned. So I knew that I was onto something when they said that when Phil Weasel Weiser said that I wasn't a serious candidate. Well, let me tell you how serious I am. Phil Weiser is running for governor of Colorado. So is Bennett. Neither one of them have ever built anything ever in their lives. Nothing. There's nothing that they've ever built. They haven't built anything. They've just torn it down. Phil Weiser was a professor. He was a professor that went from learning to, now I can teach. I'm going to go teach these students about Marxism and these radical ideas. And when he was a professor at the University of Colorado, that's what he did. He was a radical professor that chose to teach his students radical ideas. And then he went from there to being the Attorney General of Colorado. So I think that I'm in pretty good company right now. And I don't believe that, frankly, that it's going to be a very difficult race. And I want to kind of, sorry, I'm just trying to get back into my notes here. Okay, that didn't work. Jeez. Sorry, guys. Give me 1 second. A little bit of a technical difficulty. Not the first time it's happened to me. Okay, so I want to talk about the 2020 election. So since I posted that I was going to run for governor, a lot of things have happened. I've had to register with Tracer. I've got to do a bunch of things about creating a website. I've had all these people reach out to me and offer me support. I got the online bashing and the people telling me that they're going to cancel me. I have other people saying that they're going to make sure that I don't make it to the primaries. Super fun stuff. Well, let's talk about 2020 for just a second. The 2020 election was not about 2020. It was about the fact that we had one of the most polarizing presidents in U.S. history. And with the 4 years that he had in, I think it's safe to say that President Trump would walk over and turn a valve and says, what does this do? And he would find out that it popped up a sprinkler of free money that went to people that didn't deserve it, nor should have had access to it. And he consistently did that over 4 years. And despite having people like Pompeo that interfere with his ability to get things done, or even Congress, or Bill Barr saying, hey, nothing to see here, as he goes up and threatens U.S. USAGs, or excuse me, U.S. Assistant Attorney Generals up and down the coast saying don't investigate the election fraud. Despite that, he got a lot of stuff done. Despite the fact that they stole the election at the midterm in 2018 and basically flipped Congress and then blamed it on the media, used the media as a backstop. The media as a backstop to say this was the perception of the public, that the public was against President Trump. And the same thing is happening right now. President Trump has very good numbers as far as what people believe he is capable of doing and what he's done. He is getting rid of illegals that are violent criminals out of the country. And frankly, every time he puts his finger on the dial and says, okay, you know what? I'm done having Congress do it because you're not going to do it. You guys are feckless. Or the people in his cabinet, in large part, there's a lot of people in his cabinet who are standing in complete opposition to creating any sort of progress. So what he does, he just steps up and he's like, here, I'm just going to do it. They're bringing drugs into the country, just blow up the boat. And the media, in sharp contrast to what they did when Obama did the same thing, because Obama used drones. And just so you know, Obama didn't just kill people that were terrorists overseas. Obama killed an American citizen on the ground using this drone technology. An American citizen, never been done before. No due process, no, hey, I'm going after terrorists. He went and killed an American, and everyone was silent. And these are the things nobody ever talks about. They don't talk about what the left has done and what President Trump is doing, but President Trump is using it against the radical elements, the deep state of our country, the CIA, the people that he doesn't seem to have a grasp on. He doesn't have a clear control over. I don't actually think that a president since Eisenhower's had control over the CIA. I think they're completely a rogue organization that does whatever they want, interferes with the sovereignty of other nations, and has now brought it home to take over and to subvert our entire country here. But when we talk about election machines specifically, and when we talk about the genesis, where it came from, we have to trace it all the way back to SmartMatic and the stealing of an election way back in 2004. And if you remember in 2004, if you haven't heard this before, you probably need to go do some research on it. You could check on any one of my socials or even go check the archive of the videos that we have. 2004 is when Clinton Curtis, it was December of 2004, Clinton Curtis got up in front of Congress and said, I was asked by Congressman Feely of Florida to build a system. And by the way, I was working for a Chinese company. You can't make this up. I'm working for a Chinese company. I'm asked to build a voting system that can go undetected, votes being changed or flipped inside of the system. That was in 2004. Now, fast forward, SmartMatic, given a huge contract, never done it before, down in Venezuela, comes to the United States and says, right after the election, by the way, right after this thing happened in December of 2004, in 2005, they come in just several months later after a contested election where Hugo Chavez was elected as the president of Venezuela, and says, we're going to buy up the U.S. election systems. Now, I want to tell you about one important part of what I just said. And that is, it ruminates around a place called Florida. See, SmartMatic started in Florida. Feely was in Florida. Clinton Curtis was in Florida. The epicenter of all of this bad behavior was at the tip of the spear down in Florida. All of it down in Florida. Now, 2005, just several months in, SmartMatic comes in and buys up Sequoia voting systems. They promptly, a month later, hire a guy named Eric Coomer, who he says that he got a cold call. Now, he was making websites, and he had a doctorate thesis that was written on basically energy decay models, right? And I've now read that like 20 different times. I'll put it up so you guys can actually read it and on a link so you can read through it. But they hire him as the chief architect. He never held a job doing that. He's going to run 17 states and the District of Columbia. Now, fast forward 10 months later, they have a municipal election in Chicago that is a complete and utter disaster. Who's at the helm? Who's at the front of that? Eric Coomer. Now, Eric Coomer is the one that wrote the code for Sequoia voting systems. He wrote it. It wasn't written by some Serbian. He wrote it. He implemented his own algos into the system. Now, why would they pick a drug-addicted heroin addict who almost went to prison for a long time by his own accord, who was a skinhead, who, I mean, frankly, how would he have passed any sort of background check? Now, what we don't know is in 2006, CFIS got involved, which is an organization inside the government, super secretive. Their job is to check and maintain and see if there's any CFIS, if there's any sort of national security threats. They came in 2006 and said Sequoia could not be associated with SmartMatic. So this went on, this jockey went back and forth for a couple of years back and forth. Who's at the helm? Eric Coomer. And during this, we had a bunch of hotly contested things happen, head scratchers with the 17 states and the District of Columbia as far as the voting. Fast forward, Dominion voting system comes down. They only ran a couple of municipal elections. And all of a sudden they come up, they become God's gift. And someone says, let's just hand over Sequoia voting systems and turn it into Dominion. It's eerily familiar. What happened in 2006, 2008, 2009 is almost identical to Liberty voting systems that's going on right now, where it's handed over to No Inc. Founder that they say is now a Republican, who wrote an email, by the way, after he took over Dominion saying, hey, it's just business as usual. You know, same stuff, different name. His words, not mine. So 2009, all of these changes come with Dominion. Same people, same players. Who's there from the beginning? Eric Coomer. Now John Paulus comes in and all of a sudden they start buying up and going after different markets across the United States quietly because nobody actually knew anything. Even up till 2020, no one knew about Dominion voting systems. And it was Democrats that were talking about it for 4 or 5 years before that till somebody came to them and said, hey, listen, shh, it's on our side. And that's when you have the conversations about China. There's so many different parts of this. And you have Serbia and offshore code making. And we're going to build all this stuff and $80 million contracts and people that were in Venezuela, which, by the way, the 24 Venezuelans that came up to Chicago, 2 of them are whistleblowers that are still alive. One was alive. He got unalived. That are now whistleblowers talking about, oh, you guessed it, Eric Coomer and Dominion voting systems before it was Dominion and Sequoia. And we haven't even started talking about Chris York. Chris York that worked for Sequoia before, that said that they tried to get him to lie. And they bragged about going in, changing the code, getting out, nobody could see it. His own words, even before we even knew that that was a part of the system. Now, here's another thing you need to know. The DOJ recently indicted SmartMatic, right? But the EAC recently recertified them. How is that even possible? With all the things that we know about Sequoia and Dominion and SmartMatic and ES&S and Hart InterCivic and all of these systems, which, by the way, are identical in systems. People just jump from one to the other and shared information between them. It is literally organized crime. You had the earners. The earners basically went to different systems or different election places. You had the captains. In this case, it seems like the captains would be people like Hyder Garcia, people that work for him, but hey, I'm going to go work down here in Tarrant County. And then you had the bosses, the Eric Coomers of the world, the John Poloses of the world. And then we haven't even started talking about Staples Street Capital or any of the other stuff that we're dealing with. It is literally as if they wrote the book on the mob of the 1930s. And yet we sit here right now and we walk through it as if nothing to see here. Put that back up there with Patrick Byrne, please. President Trump, you should investigate all commissioners of the EAC. Obama and Brennan understood it was the leverage point, and they methodically subverted it. How in the world do they certify something with corrupt people in it? That would be literally like giving the mob all the keys to the kingdom. How in the world do we allow our country to be taken by these demons? They select people in each state with this system. And look, if you don't think that your elections are fraudulent from end to end in all 50 states, then you're either complicit or you are retarded. Those are your only two options. There is no option C. You're either a traitor or you're stupid, because the amount of information that we have today on the systems and how they subverted the elections in every state with cash flow records and the things they've kept us away from, just that would be enough. And how about the sale of Dominion to Liberty voting systems? Under secret, we don't have to disclose anything. Since when did you not have to disclose when you're actually doing the votes of the American people in 50% of the precincts around the country? When does that not become something that the American people should have absolute access to? But you make us play hide the weenie and run around and try to figure out who is it that actually funded it? How did you write a check for it? $787 million that Fox gave to Dominion voting systems, when every political pundit in the state and the country said that Dominion had nothing. But it's really easy when you can look at the number of judges in our country who are not judges. They're henchmen. They're a part of the earners and the captains and the bosses of a rigged system. Our entire country is based on a banana republic. You say, well, Joe, why would you run for governor? I have zero chance of winning in Colorado if machines and mail-in ballots are still a part of the process. Zero. The only person that will ever be picked for a position is who they want when they hold all the pieces to the puzzle. I think that you've got this problem where we sit around and we complain about it. And I'm going to tell you something. Michael Flynn put out a warning to President Trump. And hopefully I'll have it out there by the end of the month or the end of the show so you can see it. But I'm not running for governor of Colorado because I want to. And I'll tell you something else. I don't want to. I don't want to be a part of this banana republic. I don't want to be a part of a system that's so rife with corruption and absolute evil that the entire system serves itself while betraying the very people it says, I'm here to represent. I'm running for governor for a few reasons, one of which is I want to shed a light on the 40% of the population, not just in the state of Colorado, but around the country. We'll call them the have-nots, who have no chance. The only chance they have is they can go out there and play basketball or football and pray to God that they can become Michael Vick, or without the charges, obviously, or LeBron James. Maybe not LeBron James. Anyone but LeBron James. That you could become one of them, or you could become a drug dealer. There's no opportunity. There's no education. Unless you consider education this propaganda and rhetoric that they put in their heads that white people are bad and the only reason you don't have opportunities is because of them. And it's always the same synagogue of Satan individuals that hang together that run all of Colorado, by the way, that tell you that it's them over there. They're the problem. While they shove vaccine mandates into every home. While they create an environment where they feed more drugs onto the streets, where they let criminals run rampant and create victimology to the entire community. I don't even know what you call it. What would you call it when you let someone out of jail 16, 17, 18 times over a 5-year period of time, with 8 or 9 of those being felonies, only to have them either set someone on fire or kill a young, innocent citizen of the state of Colorado, or any state for that matter? They've created a system where they basically have made it fear-based. But that 40% that's out there, they don't have anything to lose. So they already know that it's play a sport or go to prison, because those are the only pipelines that have been set up in those environments. So part of what I want to do in Colorado is, frankly, just shine a light on it. Let's talk about the fact they spent $850, $900 million, went over budget by nearly double on a building designed for bureaucrats. But the schools in the city and county of Denver barely have air conditioning. They're decrepit, falling down. They can't keep them safe. Nobody's even come up with a solution to keep them safe from gunfire right outside the front doors, because they can't even get a grip on the crime. And when they do, they put them in the system and let them right back out so they can victimize the community, so they can say, gun violence, let's get rid of guns. Let's make everyone unsafe by taking away the ability for you to defend yourself. Let's not talk about the fact that we could put National Guard in every school. Anyway, we're going to talk about this after our guest. We do have a guest today. Michael Letts is going to talk to us about first responders being under attack. He's a founder and CEO of Invest USA. He's a chaplain. It appears that he went to Columbia. Oh, no, sorry. He's a chaplain at Columbia Police Department and South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, SLED. He's a state constable for the state of South Carolina, former executive pastor at Hope Baptist Church, councilman at Central Midlands Council of Governments, Airport Commission member, South Carolina State Counterterrorism Council member. He's a founder and CEO of Salty Fin Realty and Holdings, a board member and partner at Talus Technology. He's been busy. He sounds like me. He's been pretty busy. His leadership positions in Chamber of Commerce, Boy Scouts of America, and Kiwanis. It used to be Boy Scouts of America. Now it's Scouts of America. I wonder if he gave up those positions. We're going to ask him about that here in a second. He got the Congressional Gold Medal Award, 100th Congress, for community service. So yeah, it should be an interesting conversation. I got a bunch of questions that I'm going to be asking him, but we're going to be talking about first responders. But with that said, Michael, welcome to the show. You're muted.
You muted.
Oh, Tommy, you're here.
Hello.
How you doing, Tommy?
Doing very good. How are you?
I didn't know you were on.
I'm always watching in the corners.
You're lurking.
Yeah, we're on
in the
mute.
shadows. There he is.
Always a privilege, Joe. Thank you for the opportunity, and congratulations on your offer to serve the public by running for governor. I'm excited about the upcoming race.
I am a reluctant hostage.
We're all reluctant hostages. I've served in public office for 30 some odd years. It's the last thing anybody wants to do, but somebody's got to do it, Joe.
Yeah, no, it's it took me about 10 days. Tommy bugged me for the last 5 days. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? You going to do it?
Good job, Tommy.
Do it? And then
Israel loves company.
It's the principles behind it are really simple. Give me a leader that is willing to listen to the people just for a minute. I mean, those are the people that I want serving. I want reluctant leaders. I want people that want to walk in that have a lot of talent, a lot of ability, know how to overcome obstacles, and can listen to the very people they say they represent. And we just don't have that servant leadership. We don't have leadership at all that cares even what happens to the people, let alone listening.
We lost statesmanship. We've got public officials instead, and it's time to bring back some statesmen.
Look, I don't think it's going to happen without some degree of force, though, because I think that if we don't get rid of machines and mail-in ballots, I'll say it again, over and over and over again, our entire country is rife with corruption, and it uses a system that is completely diabolically evil.
But Joe, I think you're fixing to see 2026 take a dramatic change in the first few quarters as to not just exposing. We've exposed more than what we need to. It's time to take action and accountability, and I think you're going to start seeing some of that.
Yeah, I would hope that you're right. I would hope that you're right.
Well, we know we have tribunals underway, we have grand juries underway, and the evidence is just abundantly clear. And I'm very confident that it's going to be indictments coming forth. Now, that having been said, where do they lead us to? I think the American public is going to be to the standpoint, if they don't lead us to the right conclusion and they are rigged, there's going to be a revolution.
I don't want to live in a country that is run by demons for sport.
I agree. We have a corrupt Congress. We have a corrupt judicial system. We've had former corruption in the executive branch in the past, and we'll continue to have it unless people are held accountable. We've done a fantastic job, Joe, of presenting the evidence that's there, uncovering and presenting to the American people the nefarious activities that have been done. But quite frankly, when I hear on the road, and I'm all across the country, great job in exposing it. What are you going to do about it? Because if you're just going to talk about it and do nothing about it, then don't say anything else about it anymore. I think that message is loud and clear. And I think you're going to start seeing some action being taken the first of the year.
I have an immense amount of confidence in President Trump. Immense. I mean, I've also been a critic, but I haven't been so critical that I step on his toes, because I know. I know that the job is very difficult, but what he's proven is that when he acts decisively, stuff gets done. And even when the judiciary steps in, there is one mechanism that he has which could wreck all of this, and that is pushing up the Insurrection Act. I mean, it's as clear as day. Like nobody in their right mind would not see us in an active insurrection right now.
Well, our founding fathers were extremely brilliant. I think that's an understatement. But they also placed within our Constitution a mechanism that if, God forbid it should happen, but we're already there, if it ever got to the point to where your legislative branch was corrupt, your judicial branch was corrupt, and even members of your executive branch were corrupt, there was a thing that the Constitution provides for. It's called military tribunals that could be called upon if necessary to hold people accountable. That day has arrived.
So you're a chaplain.
Yes, sir.
So by the way, I've been reading I went to the New Testament, and I wanted to get through Matthew this week, right?
Great
and
book.
So I've been reading Matthew because I was sitting outside power washing, doing some honeydews, and I was angry. It's hard not to be angry. The average American is super angry right now.
And rightly so.
On the left and the right. I mean, and the 80% in the middle, they feel like mommy and daddy are fighting.
Right. But they know something's wrong, Joe. They know something is wrong.
I think everyone does.
Yes.
I think everyone can recognize, look, I need to say this. When people elect people, when the system is not rigged, it can't get this broken.
No,
you understand?
Right. And it's not been just rigged by within. It's been rigged by foreign influence as well. We've allowed it to happen.
Hold on a second. Hold on. Let's take foreign influences, because we always do this. We always do this thing where it's somebody else's fault. No, we have traitors in this country that sold their grandmother and future generations down the river and brought in and accepted those foreign bribes, accepted those foreign gratuities.
Well, it's understood, Joe. You can't come in to the country and accomplish things without aid and abetting. I mean, it's got to have. It's just like we've talked about. I was involved with the Secret Service. I mean, I've done an awful lot of things. Been involved with intelligence agencies over my career. You don't get the opportunity to coming this close to assassinating the president on numerous occasions, and that's just one small example. Without assistance and aiding and abetting and getting the opportunity to do that. I'm sorry, the numbers are just not there. The statistics are just not there. You can't get that lucky.
Well, you can't make that lucky twice.
Well,
I mean, that's
twice that you know about. It's been a lot more than twice.
Yeah. I mean, look at what happened to Charlie Kirk, right? And then a vacuum was created, and what filled it can only be described as more of the kabuki theater. So we took out a man that I think was probably one of the most honest, one of the most authentic men.
Good friend.
That he had that front covered. Like we didn't have.
And he was on fire, Joe. That thing was moving and growing like leaps and bounds on steroids. Scary.
Now it's growing in theatrics.
Correct.
He never would have. He would have prayed for her. He would have done things like say, hey, look, I can get on board with you if you would give up, WAP and all these other things that you've done to destroy young people.
Correct.
But he never would have ingratiated himself to Nicki Minaj.
No, it's nothing has been more. Not to interject myself, I've been very lenient. Not that anyone cares about what my opinion is, just because.
Sure, they
Joe,
I care what your opinion is.
Thank you, Joe. You lost a brother. I lost a brother to suicide, and the reason why I was gave it such a wide berth at the beginning is because the day I found out, I completely imploded, and then I didn't cry for 9 months. My brain went out to lunch. I was 23 years old, totally mature adult, just graduated college. and I didn't even register it for 9 months, which is why, and again, these are completely different things, but when people are like, she's not grieving correctly, I think if you were to look at me, the 9 months in 2014 after I lost my brother, you'd probably think I was insane. But I was just, I don't know, it was a trauma response. It was just, my brain turned off. And then it came back 9 months later. I've tried to be very lenient and go, I have no idea how she's trying. I don't know what it's like to be married. I don't have kids. It gets to a point, though, where you're kind of like, I don't know if I can provide leniency, not to completely derail the conversation about this, but it's, you remove Charlie Kirk, who was, again, very honest, not fantastical, not doing clickbait stuff, and you removed him and you filled the void with lowbrow, single digit IQ slop. And I think it's by design.
Everything's by design. There's very few things that are by happenstance.
Well, within I had a whole set of questions and I just totally derailed it.
Because, I realized when I started going into Charlie Kirk, completely.
No, the Charlie Kirk thing, I think it's important because
aiding and abetting Trump assassination attempts more than one. That's where we are.
You were talking about the Book of Matthew.
Yeah, the book. I mean, so the Book of Matthew it's been fascinating because I go from chapter to chapter, and anyway, I'm out there power washing, doing what my wife asked me to do, and which is completely cathartic, by the way, and it goes into them having to hide Jesus and the king going out and killing everyone under the age of 2, and I just kept thinking about where we are right now. And this idea that leaders are allowed to do really horrible things to our people. And yet it goes down in history, but there was no consequence, just that he died. Like nobody held him accountable. And I look at Biden, I look at Obama, and I look at the things that are happening right now with healthcare and this off the rails mentality where everyone is in it for themselves, this lawless environment. And I'm like, there's no real difference in 2,000 years later.
No, it's the same. The question will be, Joe, is as we move into 2026 and it becomes evident what really transpired and what the consequences should be, will the American people demand that those consequences be taken, or will we just let it take a pass? If we let it take a pass, then we have sent a strong message. We don't have a nation anymore. We don't have accountability. Anything goes. Everybody knows. You take a look at history of the Roman Empire. When anything goes, your empire implodes within a short generation. So we're fixing. That's why I say 2026 is so critical. We're fixing to find out just where this nation will be in the future.
They are. Do you think the same? They're using the same playbook. Do you think that they this same playbook? Do you think it's been played out? Do you think that they're just not anticipating that 2% or 3%?
Well, they're using the same playbook. This is the CIA's playbook. I mean, they've done a very good job of putting it together. We've used the same playbook for generations, and it's been successful all around the world. The problem is that the CIA is failing to recognize that you have a different caliber of people that you're putting it in and placing it upon this time in the United States. And so the playbook that has been so successful globally and for generations may not quite play out the same way here as it has abroad. Plus the fact that people are now realizing that we have, you mentioned, a rogue agency. I'm not so sure that I agree with that Eisenhower had a handle on the CIA. I don't think anybody's been able to handle on them. The only one that came close was assassinated 11 days after he said that he was going to dismantle them. So they have obviously exercised and shown their ability to control their own destiny and to control the destiny of this country. But I think people are seeing that now, and it's becoming much more difficult for them to just gingerly get their agenda put in place and accomplished.
Yeah, so this is where I get to. I just got another death threat. This is really nice. I'm getting so many of them now. It's like kind of crazy.
Well, gee, I'm getting a little envious. You're getting more than I am, Joe. That's kind of,
congratulations, Mr. Let's Up.
Yeah, this is pretty interesting. This is wow, that's nice.
Mike, I can text you a death threat if you want to feel included.
Yeah, thank God. I
Yeah,
appreciate
just-
that, Tom.
I mean, I kind of feel like,
I'd feel better if Joe and you did that. At least you got two, you know.
Hey, I'm watching you right now. Nice red tie. Yeah.
Tell that red means something.
Yeah. Yeah. Just
Yeah,
don't. Yeah.
it's pretty crazy. I got people that are really mad that I said stuff. Yeah.
Well,
People are
it's
people.
gonna get a lot worse.
Oh, here's the difference between me and Charlie. Okay, I shoot back.
Yeah.
I shoot back. My situational awareness is really high, and the last person that came from me, I promise you right now, they need a dentist. I've been told not to talk about it. I won't talk about it, but I'll tell you right now, I do not play. So that's the difference between me and everybody else. And I don't put myself in bad situations for that reason.
Well, I'm honored that we've got some more players on the team. Thank you, Joe.
Yeah. So tell me, Tommy lost his brother to suicide. I lost my brother to being killed by police officers. I still back. I'm going to say this, and I'm going to tell you that this is probably 99% of America. 99% of America who has ever touched the judiciary does not like the judiciary. Right?
I would agree.
Because the process is the punishment. And they get to do whatever they want. Once you actually can feel the fact that you are helpless in a system because you have to play their game, and you start to realize it's not what it seems. It's a banana republic. And my brother was murdered by a police officer. I still back good police officers
Right.
that are there to serve and protect. And I'm not sure that there's as many bad police officers as there was before. Matter of fact, I'm sure of it. But how do we reconcile what the police officers do with the police officers that aren't on the street talking to people, that are behind the scenes, that are caused with the DAs, that are them pushing things through? That's where the rot exists. It's already, those rotted officers have already gotten to the next level. So they're not even forward facing.
No, where your corruption lies within the judiciary system. When I talk about, and they utilize the enforcement section for our key components in the enforcement section to get accomplished what they want.
Yes.
Overlooking some evidence that should be brought out, hiding exculpatory evidence, creating evidence that doesn't exist. And look here, I mean, I'm speaking from experience. I can tell you exactly the truth of the matter of what you're talking about. The guys on the street resent it. They hate it. Most of them will say, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to quit. But there are those who, hey, I got to pay the light bill this month. And so I'll just do what I have to do to keep surviving. That's a poor way to do a living. It's a poor way to live. I tell people, if you have to compromise your values and your faith to keep your job, you're better off to eliminate that job and find something else, because that's not the way you want to operate your life.
All right. So what, sorry, I was just answering the death threat. I was like, hugs and kisses.
I love it.
Let's kind of go back in time for a minute. Has anybody, because you sound like you're ready for battle.
We are.
Like you're
We're leading we're already on the battlefield, leading the way.
But I'm saying, if it came to the point where we had to basically take a stand, you seem like you're reserved to the fact that taking that stand, even if it costs you your life, it's something you'd be willing to do.
I think the vast majority of Americans feel that way.
But how do you reconcile that with what they say of how can you say you're Christian and you're for violence? Because I get this question all the time.
That's very simple. That's a misunderstanding of Christianity. Christianity, God expects you to stand for righteousness and for truth. And when he says to stand, you can't stand and be kneeling or being put on your backside at the same time. That's the opposite definition of standing. Standing means being firm, holding my ground, advancing, moving forward. That's what we do for military operations. We don't hold ground, we advance. That's what George Patton was so good at in World War II. We're moving forward, we're advancing until we've completed the mission. We have one mission in mind, and that's to guarantee future for our children and our grandchildren, and to guarantee the constitutionality of this country, its freedom that it's been God-given to us. And quite frankly, we know for a fact now, let's just get straight to the point. We know that we're in an epic battle, a struggle between good and evil. We know that there are those globally who have determined that they're going to make it one world order. They have the finances. We're talking about people like Soros, and I mean, I could give you the whole list, but we don't have that long on your show. but they also need personnel to accomplish their objective. They've been searching who are great personnel that hate this country, they hate what we stand for. Well, the Islamic jihadists, the Muslims do. And they have already, quite frankly, not hearsay, this is their words, not mine. They have declared that America will be the next caliphate, come either by ballot or by bullet. And so it's not just America. They're targeting every other country in the world. In the last 30 days, the imams across the country have called on sleeper cells to activate. We know there are over 1,000 sleeper cells in this country alone. That's not including the others that we have across the world. They've started to activate. You saw that in Sydney last week. Saw that in LA. You saw that in Houston. We could go down the list. We were able to thwart those activities. We did not thwart the one at Brown University. That's just the tip of the iceberg, folks. It's just the game's just starting. Just going to start warming up. And so you had better decide. Scripture very clearly tells you to stand for righteousness. There's no question about that. That's not arguable. And so you better decide what side you're going to stand on. And if you're going to stand, you be prepared to be able to do just that. And that means being able to defend yourself, your family, your children, and your neighborhood. If you don't be able to defend those, then you're worthless. Scripture doesn't say you're worthy to be able to eat. You can't call yourself a man if you won't defend your own family. So get over this, I shouldn't do that. Violence is not part of Christianity, because that's a perversion of the truth. Christianity is defending what's right, and we're going to do that to the very end.
Yeah. So Tommy, you have anything on that?
No, I think I think the argument, the people that are trying to tell you what is and what is not Christian, none of them are Christian. Regardless, and Mr. Letts is correct, even if you weren't, even if you were just making things up, regardless, somebody that's not a Christian, you're not going to tell me how to act. You're not going to tell me what to do. And then furthermore, it's innocent to the guilty is cruelty to the mercy to the guilty is cruelty to the innocent. Listen, we can break it down in scripture, or we can look at just the basic premise. God gave you free will. Here's an option where there's one or the other. Mercy to the guilty, or cruelty to the innocent. Just has a premise right there. Like I don't need a scripture number. What are we doing in this reality, this 4-5 dimensional thing we call the universe? Okay, you have free will. You're made in the image and likeness of God. And that free will also is used to engage in problems. Sometimes it's math problems in kindergarten. Other times it's thou shalt not murder. It's not thou shalt not kill. There's no honor, there's no glory, and there's no scriptural standing in just, closing your eyes and go, okay, well, I'm going to die because that's the way to go. That is not at all the way to go. I mean, it literally says, sell your cloak and buy a sword. That's not mincing words. We're not going to dissect that like the right to bear arms. And it's like, no. It means you get weapons to kill. That's what it is. That's what it is. And if you want to shroud yourself in it and say, well, I'm a pacifist, I'm not going to kill. If you want to say, well, I'm biblically meek. No, it's not. There's humility. There's kneeling before God, and then there's cowardice. And I can sit there and, see some kid getting kidnapped and I go, but, I'm going to turn the other cheek. That's not that. If that's the case, and then it's also, it is better to have a millstone wrapped around your neck and thrown into the depths of the ocean than to harm these little ones. Free will. So now which one is it? Are you humble and meek in the eyes of God? If that means turning the other cheek to seeing a child get kidnapped? At a certain point, it's what the answer is. You know what you have to do. God also didn't put you in this and abandon you. He put you in here, and it's difficult, and it's free will, and it's a lot of gray area. He gave you a functioning brain, and I really think above all else, the primary thing God gave you was free will. If he wanted marionettes, if he wanted a script that he knew the outcome of, if he wanted to watch Die Hard for the 1,000th time, he would. But that's not what he did. He gave you free will in a very uneven, the loose ends don't get tied up, murky world. That's how I look at it. It's nice to find a scripture number, but God gave you free will, and it's a zero-sum game. There isn't a thing where you can go, I'm just not going to get involved. It's not you're hanging out with the in-laws and everyone's had a couple drinks and they're arguing, and you're like, you know what? My best move might just be to shut up and ride out the night. That's okay. Something like this is not okay. There is no there is no footprintless action. If you don't stand, you are actively allowing other things to happen. So Mr. Les he's got the receipts, he's got the scriptures. I don't. I just look at it as God gave you free will. You know what to do. If he didn't want you to have these difficult situations, we would never left the Garden of Eden. We'd still be there. But that's not what we are.
True.
That's just my own 2 cents.
But maybe we are in the Garden of Eden.
Or we are, and what comes next is not, in which case we need to do our best to stay in it.
You know, I tell people that if when they say that you shouldn't kill, if you really think that that's what God's intention was, then why did he command the Israelites in the Old Testament when they went to battle? They not only wiped out the armies, they wiped out the entire populations.
Look, I think we all know the great story of how David got 1,000 signatures and Goliath said okay and left.
Yeah, hadn't heard that one yet, Tommy. Looking forward.
I just made that up. Yeah, it's yeah. They signed a petition and they said this is a no giant zone, like a gun-free zone. And Goliath said, "Yeah, all right." No, he cracked him in the face and killed him, and then chopped his head off.
That's
what
correct.
are you talking about?
All right, so that leads me to. By the way, nobody wants to go to violence. Anybody that's ever seen violence does not want violence for anyone else.
Those who have tasted of war never want it on anybody else. I can assure you of that.
Yeah, and look, if I think that's the most telling part about what I see for like the inner city more than anything in the world is the PTSD that gets created when you have to run from gunshots or run from gangs or, try to choose to be smart in a world that does not want you to be successful. They are clawing. It's like having 5,000 boat anchors tied to your feet. That's how hard it is to get out of the poverty index. It's that hard, right? It's generational.
There's no question about it. You're exactly right. But, those who have seen war, while they do not want war ever again, they also do not want people to suffer what they've seen. It's the occurrence of not being able to stand and fight evil. And they are just as adamant that we will not let that happen again as they are as we don't want to see war.
So tell me why, if what you're was saying is correct, and I believe it to be correct. I share your same sentiment. First of all, we say pray first, so you never become the very thing that you're fighting against.
Correct.
Stand. When you always when you're addressing a problem, when you're addressing anything, make sure you're on your feet. Always speak truth, and then you have to act. So that's the other part where you have to willfully participate and be willing to sacrifice for what you said, which is truth, right?
Exactly. And that's what we're saying all across the country. Talking with the charity with Invest. People ask me everywhere we go, all the speeches that we give. So what do we do? Tell them, give me some direction. I say, first and foremost, stand for the truth. You got to know what the truth is. Okay. If you don't, I'll give you plenty of places. First of all, starting with scripture where you can find the truth. Know what the truth is and know your convictions. Second of all, be willing to stand for them. Don't just when somebody says something, you think yourself, why? That's ridiculous, but I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to rock the boat. Rock the boat. Say something. Stand up. Have some backbone about you. Then thirdly, be prepared. Understand that even though I'm in law enforcement, understand law enforcement has changed. We cannot protect you. We can come to the scene after and help solve the crime as to what happened and hold people accountable. But you are responsible for protecting yourself, your family, your spouse, your children, your community, your neighbors. And so how are you going to do that if you're not armed and know how to use it? So I tell people, make sure that you're armed, that you know how to use it. I think one of the greatest family activities that you can do, if you want to talk about building your strength in your family, take all your kids to the firing range. Make sure each one of them understands how to use that firearm so they can see the consequences. It's not a toy. You don't point it at somebody playing. It's not a toy. It has great power. But so they know how to channel and use it. That's the greatest thing you could do. Spend the day on the range with your kids. You'll be amazed at the memories that you create, and you'll do them a favor for their future for the rest of their life.
What do you say to the pastors that are basically telling people to run the other direction, though? I mean, what do you say to them? Because that
hiding behind the cloak.
But it's happening. It's the Black Robe Regiment in reverse.
And this is what I tell people. And me being an ordained minister, I think the church is creating a major issue, major problem in this country by standing and doing nothing. they actually calculated. What they decided to do is, it's more important for me, Joe, to have you join my church and give me some of your money. So I don't want to say anything that may cause you to not feel warm and fuzzy in my congregation, because I'm interested in building the biggest thing I can have with the most amount of money coming in. That is a travesty. That's a slap in the face to God. What the purpose for the church is to provide moral direction and moral courage for its congregation, its participants. And if you're not doing that, then God didn't call you to that pulpit. Your greed did. God didn't. And you better get out of there, because with God, you will be held accountable. We all will die. I hate to break this to you, but nobody's going to live forever. You're all going to die. We're all going to die. We're all going to stand before judgment. And I would hate to be standing before judgment as a pastor of a church who did the opposite of what God wanted me to do, and be responsible for all the Congress that are in there and see what my destiny is going to be. That's not where you want to be, folks. Trust me.
It says that you live for today. There's a saying. It's a philosopher. Man, what did it say? Live for today and you'll regret tomorrow. In other words, we live for this life.
Right.
But this life is so short.
You compare, say you have 100 years, and that's probably more than what most of us will give, but let's just say you have 100 years. Compared to eternity, that's like one speck of sand on the beach. I mean, that's nothing. And you want to take that nothingness and destroy the rest of all eternity for yourself? How stupid can you be?
Yeah, statistically, yeah.
Well, and that's okay. This is where you get into but this is, again, if we don't solve, and maybe I'm just asking a question we can't answer. Maybe I'm searching for. I
love asking questions. We'll find out if we get an answer.
I hate servicing symptoms. I love solving problems, right? I like walk in, I'm like, all right, turn the faucet off and you won't have a flood. It's pretty simple. And they're like, oh, you don't think it's too complicated. You got to jump over this and rub on your head and rub on your belly and tap on your, so you have people that tell you can't solve that problem, right? So how do we address people? How do we give people the ability to say, listen, you got to be able to hold your pastors accountable, because they're looking for a home. I mean, look, people are looking for a biblical home more now than ever. And
well, there's no question about that, Joe. And here's the simple answer. I love the way you said, just turn the faucet off. That's why I came on your show. We need shows like this that are willing to propagate and communicate the truth. Now, I'm sorry, I can't make everybody do and utilize the truth that we give. But people can't utilize the truth if they haven't heard it. They're hearing it now. They're hearing it on your show. I hate to say this, but let's be real. Sometimes it takes people 2, 3, 4, 5 times to hear the truth before it finally sinks through that thick skull of theirs. But at some point in time, when you know the truth, then do something about it. And it comes with your congregation. Sometimes you got to just realize and say, wow, the church I'm going to pacifies. It doesn't give any moral direction. It's just a great social club. Go find you a social club at the country club somewhere and give your dues there. Find you a church that will give you moral direction and guidance and let you stand up for values. That's where you need to be. And it's time that you start showing some authority in doing so. Let me just talk for just a second to all of our male listeners here. What happened to the men in this country? I laugh at this when I see these memes. The men we used to have stormed beaches in World War II, took over countries, delivered from fascism, from oppression. The men that we have today don't even know if they're men or not. They can't even decide whether to wear a dress or whether to wear pants. We have totally effeminated manhood in this country, and it's time that we call it for what it is and start getting some real men once again to lead this country and to lead their families, and that is what will turn this nation around. Nothing else will do.
All right, that leads me to what's going on in South Carolina. How are you guys fighting? How are you guys fighting against this there? How are you guys fighting against, I know you've been doing some work where you provide first responders with, bulletproof vests and things that can help protect them so they can get home to their loved ones. But, you guys got some serious problems down there.
Well, there's no question that we do. And let's address a few of them. Of course, Invest is a national, in fact, we're international. We have deal with first responders all across the world. But South Carolina is no different than any other state. You say, oh, no, we're not like New York. No, we're not to the degree of New York or Michigan or Minnesota. But there is corruption everywhere you go. You have elected officials who are taking from the dole, who we know about. But let me tell you the problem that whether we have this in South Carolina or any other place, people say, well, I don't want to say anything. I don't want people to take offense, or I don't want this person to get mad at me. Why not? You expect life to move forward in a positive direction without confronting evil? Where did you ever learn that? Probably in our educational system. And that's a total of the corruption thing. We could spend an hour talking about that, how we have to revitalize how we educate our young people. But it's time, and this is what we're doing in South Carolina. Yeah, maybe the atmosphere is a little more conducive to standing in South Carolina than it would be in California or New York, but the principle is still the same. If you don't stand and call out evil, whether it's corruption, whether it's in the judicial system, the law enforcement, and we have some sheriffs and all who are should be on the other side of the bars, quite frankly. If we don't start calling people out and holding people accountable, we're going to lose this country. And let me tell you what I remind people all across this great nation of ours. When America's gone, tell me where you're going. Because I haven't found a place to go yet. America is the last bastion of hope and freedom in the world. When America falls, the world falls. Now, is that what you want? Because when the world falls, you won't get it back. It's over. I've already got their I told you I served in intelligence agencies. I know the playbook. I know exactly how, we've handled this in other countries. We're using the same plays in this country. Quite frankly, I'm embarrassed to say, but it's working. And we're getting real close to coming to a point of no return where we cannot turn this country back around. What? We still have great hope, but I'm concerned this will be the year whether we go one way or the other.
Why can't we dismantle the CIA? I mean, is it that we just have no control over it, and the fact that there's like another sub-government? I almost feel like that's the case. Like we have a government that's basically running our government. It's like a little bit of
you hit the nail on the head. So the question then becomes, how does it get accomplished? And the question, this is a larger question, and there is an answer. They don't want to hear it. And trust me, you're going to get about 4 or 5 more of these little texts you were just reading a few minutes ago when we get done with this little portion of the program. But whether it is judicial corruption, and we have tremendous corruption with activist judges, even the Supreme Court. We have tremendous corruption in our judicial system. We have tremendous corruption in our executive branch. We saw that under Obama. We saw that under Biden. Trump is trying. I use that word. He's trying to do what he can to drain the swamp. But, let me remind people, he is one man. And when you're talking about an agency or government that's probably a bigger employer than anybody in the world, with a lot of decades to bring in corrupt people into there, that's a much bigger task than just replacing one person, okay? But we also have corruption in our legislative branch. How many of the members of Congress are on the dole? I mean, if you got another 2 hours, I'll be glad to start going through the list and calling names if you'd like to. But here's where we're at. Our country knew that we could get to this point. And as I mentioned a minute ago on your on this show, it gave us one nuclear option, if you want to call it that. It's called military tribunals. A military tribunal cannot be subject or cannot be used on civilians except for one reason. And that reason is what we call national security, matters of national security. Now, let me ask you the question. Is a corrupt judiciary a matter of national security? Can you have national security in a corrupt judicial system? Can you have national security and a corrupt Congress? Can you have national security and a corrupt rogue agency? No. Why did they give us this option? Because they knew that when you got to this desperate point in history, if you couldn't trust the military, who are supposed to be charged with protecting and defending you, it's over already. The country's gone. And so now notice how the military...
We're almost there. We're
almost there, but notice how a military tribunal is set up. We don't have general officers that oversee military tribunals. It's your middle management. It's your majors, your colonels, your captains, people who have been in combat, who know what is at stake. They're the ones who serve in military tribunals. And military tribunals are distinctly different than judicial process. We don't have appeals, and it takes another 4 years before we hear this case. You got 60 days. You present your case. Military tribunal determines whether there has been an infraction of the judicial code. If there has, they understand what the penalty is, and we don't debate about, okay, well, I think that's a little too tough on Joe. Let's do something different. No, if you did it, here's the penalty, and we actually execute what the penalty is all within 60 days. That's how you bring people in accountability. When you start bringing military tribunals in and people suddenly realize whether the judiciary, legislative, executive, oh boy, I'm going to actually be held accountable, you'll see a difference between night and day within a matter of minutes.
So you are convinced that tribunals are going on right now, or at least they're getting set up.
Well, let's talk about the process. Military tribunal can only be convened by the commander in chief or by Congress initiating in the House of Representatives.
Mm-hmm.
You think Congress is going to do it? I want to say in the desert, okay?
But he's going to have to invoke the Insurrection Act. You don't have a choice. That's it. I've tried everything else.
To the point to where you're ready to actually execute the tribunals, you are correct.
Right.
Now, let's talk about where we're at in this situation. We've been very gentle as to how we've done this, okay?
Mm-hmm.
America understood that you cannot operate with crime the way it is. You say, well, let law enforcement handle it. Well, let me just give you a couple of statistics real quickly. When Joe Biden took office, we had 1.4 million roughly sworn officers in this country. When he left, we had a little over 700,000. Do you really think that we have the capacity, law enforcement-wise, to restore law and order?
No.
Anybody within the system will tell you and laugh at you and say, absolutely not. So what are we going to do about it? Well, the president was very clear during the campaign. This is before he became president. We're going to have to augment that with military assets. Well, let's do it with National Guard. And that's what he did to begin with. Then you had the judicial activists. Oh, you can't do that. They're not part of the armed forces. The commander-in-chief actually doesn't have the authority to implement that. All those are a bunch of bogus lies. But he went on ahead and implemented the Marine Corps in California. He's already set the stage, okay? And no, he hasn't pulled the plug on the Insurrection Act, but he set everything in motion. And what does the Insurrection Act require? It requires that there be a declaration of a national emergency or that we have enemy combatants on American soil. Now, who did he designate as domestic terrorists? Cartels and others. Are they on American soil? So, check that box. Now, has he declared that we have a national emergency due to law and order? He has. If you go back and look at it, it was in his inauguration. So we've
100%.
checked both of those. So we have set the stage. You say, well, why didn't we just pull the trigger? Folks, one thing you have to understand about Americans, we don't like change. We're apprehensive. We don't like things springed on us, okay? So sometimes you got to warm up the engine before you drop her down into gear and fire it and squeal the tires.
It's been 5 years. We're past the point where we're
but those first four, Joe,
brother.
Those first four, you didn't have anybody that had any interest in a military tribunal.
Well, so I mean, look, I don't see. Let me just tell you my thoughts on what I'm seeing right now. I don't see the nervousness that you would normally see. Actually, I see it in a few politicians, like especially in Colorado. I think Jenna Griswold is actually showing her hand because she's panicking and talking about Tina Peters and trying to create, a public.
They're panicking because they understand the results better than anybody else. They know what's coming.
But I don't see the institutional panic, right? I don't see that, but I do see it on the Republican side, which shows me the Republicans are in on it. That a lot of these people that were selected are in on this deal. And I can talk about a guy named Gabriel Sterling, who was the COO of the Secretary of State's office in Georgia, who basically looked like a ping pong ball. Went to work for him, didn't work for him, went to work for him.
Right.
Didn't work for him, got a $200,000 implementation, then went right back to work for him after he collected the $200,000. I mean, completely corrupt, right? And would come in and out of office of working for the Secretary of State in order to collect gratuities, right?
Correct.
This, and I equated it. You probably heard me before. I equated it to a mob environment. Bad part is I know about gangs, right? I mean, I just know about them. I know about the inner workings of them, right? And the mob has what are called earners, right? They have people that are on the street. Their job is to collect, basically enforce, right? And then you have the captains, because the earners are also the enforcers. So you have that two layers where the earners come in, you don't do it, they just send in Guido. In this case, the enforcers are the judiciary. So we have an entire mechanism that mimics the mob of the 1930s with impunity, right? Then you have the captains. So the captains are the people that were selected, not elected. They're put in those positions of power. Their job is to go back down to the enforcers and say, listen, I need you to shut them up. I need a $787 million verdict there. I need a $2.3 million verdict there. I need you to play partisan politics. I need you to do things to violate the law. And let's just outwit them with time. And because I have enough people, density, I can continue to do it. Now, then you have the people at the very top. You have the bosses. In this case, shadow government, CIA. They're doing their thing. They push it down to the captains. Captain's job is to do exactly what they say. That's why you have this unity between these trilateral or quadrilateral agreements that you have with California, Washington, Oregon, Colorado, because now they're operating as one unit, which was never supposed to be. They're supposed to have their own autonomy. But now they're mimicking each other, creating these relationships, which is a violation of the Constitution. They're supposed to operate independently, but now they're not. Now they're creating their own nation states. Right?
Correct.
Inside of our government. And by the way, this is not a difficult thing to understand, what I just said to you.
Very simple. And here's the difference though, Joe. I concur with what you said. But the one thing that has been troubling for them is they didn't realize that there were going to be a lot of people like you and this show and others across the country who are going to be educating the American people. They understand this. They understand the American people are armed. And they understand the American people did it one time before, 250 years ago. They are capable of doing it again. And so they're having to be very careful how they proceed. And they're scared and they're not sure exactly. They can't just roll in with tanks and destroy the backbone of this country. So they're trying to do it through their main arm, which is mass media, to convince everybody that you and I are crazy and that nobody else believes in what we say. But they're losing that battle. They're losing it very quickly. And if you begin to hold people accountable through tribunals, you won't have to have tribunals for the entire country. You have one or two. It'll be amazing how fast they turn on each other. And the whole system will collapse. And I believe it's on the verge of collapsing now.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. I think you're spot on. I've been less patient of late because of this fact. And I got on with a friend of mine because I tried to be an apologist. I'm not a very good apologist. And my friend's like, that's bullshit. I was like, it was David Clements. I go, yeah, it is bullshit.
I love it.
So then I come to the point where I go, all right, I just articulated the structure. Mike, do you think that structure's true? You think it exists that way?
It's true. I mean, I've been in the intelligence community. I know exactly how it's set up, and I know exactly how things are operating. I know exactly how every one of these, whether it's legislative, whether it's judicial, whether it's executive, how they've structured and how they keep their operations going, how it's all based on cash flow. By the way, it's not their money, it's our money they're using. Isn't that convenient? But yeah, they know that we know, and that's why it's important for them to silence us. They're doing the best they can. I was kind of hoping you got 2 or 3 more little notes, but maybe not. But they're going to do everything they can to silence us between now and the end of next year, but they're not going to succeed.
I would agree with you. I would agree with you fully. Okay. Well, Mike, I just appreciate you coming on. How can people support you? How can they follow you?
Well, they go to our website. That's INVEST USA, investusa.org. There'll be 2 things. First of all, you can make sure you support our first responders. Folks, we have the lowest morale rate we've ever had in history. We have the highest number of officers killed on the line of duty in history. And we have the highest suicide rate we've ever had in history. Our officers, our first responders need you. They put their lives on the line every day to protect you and I. The least we can do is that we stand with them. So if you can make a contribution to help provide an active shooter vest for one of these offers. The second thing you'll see on there is our media section. You can keep track of every one of these shows like the ones we're on now. You can keep track of what's going on in America and in the world and how it affects you and I, not just through law enforcement, but our everyday lives. Make sure you learn the truth, because the truth will set you free. God bless you, Joe. God bless you, Tommy. God bless America. We're going to win this war if we stay united together, and I believe we're going to win.
And I want you to know this, even though my brother was murdered by a police officer, and I want everybody to understand this. I believe that character is individual, and that there are a lot of good men that are super lonely. So one reason why I talk about a brotherhood, right, is that men lose their way in a lot of different ways, and when they lose hope, it's typically the where it starts. So we got to make sure that we maintain and protect each other, because the community is all we have. It truly is all we have.
I tell this because we speak to cops all across the country, all week long, and I have just hundreds of thousands of them come up, over the time and tell me, I'm disappointed this and that. I say, hold on, because when I say we're going to drain the swamp and clean it, we're going to clean it all the way, and that means corrupt law enforcement too. And I'll be glad to call you ahead of time and tell you meet me here, because we're fixing to kick the doors down. So, if this applies, we're not going to protect one class. It is going to be equal liberty and justice for all. God bless you.
God bless you, brother.
You the man, Mike.
Yeah, he's a great dude, man.
Isn't he awesome?
Yeah, I'm gonna have a lot of fun having him on again. We're gonna talk more through stuff.
I'll exchange y'all's numbers right now.
When the tribunals start, I'm gonna be like, yeah, let's go. Dude, I want a front seat. Give me a front seat. I want to be at the front. I want a front row seat. I'm gonna sit there with my phone, act like an influencer for a minute, right?
Let's is the man. That dude's rock solid. There's no wishy-washy with him.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro. Getting death threats while I'm sitting here on here was kind of interesting, but the way he handled it too, he's like, yeah, okay, he might get a few more after this. And what he's talking about with the churches as a chaplain, talking about the fecklessness of the churches. Men have to hear this, right? And men have to hear that there is hope. There is a place, that you can come out of the other end with this. So I am encouraged. I wasn't encouraged before he got on either. I was like, right. It's like,
no, you should. His whole story is
a little bipolar.
He didn't quite go into it, but like, he talked about when they first started, like decades ago, when they first started raising money for Kevlar vests for these precincts that just couldn't afford it. Yeah. It was kind of like what you're talking about running for office. He was like, yeah, I don't really want to do this. He's like, we're going to raise whatever, 50 vests. And he did it. And he was like, awesome. And he went to go dissolve the thing. And somebody's like, well, can you do this precinct, one state over? And he was like, okay, we'll do that one. And he kind of just kept going. And I think it's been going for 30 years, where he was like, I never wanted to do this shit. But he was like, no one else is doing it. So he did it, which is, again, kind of, the people that should lead are never the ones that want to lead. That's why I like him, is he never set out as look at me, I'm doing this for police. He was like, what am I doing? This is a little side thing I did. I think it started because some mayor was like, if you raise the money, you can give it to him. And so he just took it as a challenge, and he did it. And then it just kept happening for 30 years. And so he's still doing it.
Yeah, no, it's a pretty crazy deal. Yeah. By the way, Boz sent me a link just now, and I need to put this up. So yeah, Basil sent me this. I tried to see if he'd come on, but he didn't answer me. So copy link, send it up here. Oh
yeah, he texted me something.
Yeah, this is a link. If you guys can put this up, we're going to go out of order here for a minute, but I think that it's necessary for us to capture this a little bit. Wrong one. Oh, there we go. That's the right one. Never mind.
Well, we started bombing Venezuela.
Did we?
Yeah, an hour ago.
Are you serious?
Yep. Started 3 hours ago. The U.S. just officially conducted a land strike in Venezuela. 1 hour ago, Trump says we took out, quote, a big facility in Venezuela. I'll text it to you.
Well, put it in the comments. Put it in the comments so we can actually go through it.
I'll send it to
right now.
All right, I'll send it to the group. All right, I just put it in the show assets. Trump says you at newswire.com.
Traders. Trump says knocked out big facility in Venezuela. CNN. What facility, I wonder? Is this a drug facility? Or is this facility for big facility for
officially conducted land strikes in Venezuela? The military took out a drug facility, resulting in a massive explosion. I'm dropping them in the chat.
Do you think everyone in Venezuela will now be high with cocaine? Just
if they're lucky. I mean, if you're gonna get bombed, you get something out of it. Who says the invading force is the only one that gets the stimulants? You know, it's 2026, man.
The big thing is I want the election stuff done. This is things are really heating up. I think it is heating up. The only problem is that there's this guy standing next to him in the conference right now.
He doesn't look like a president. Who is that? That's not.
Is
that a vice president? Who is that? Oh, no. That's a head of state of another country. Wow.
Yeah, that's.
Didn't he cryptically say Iran might start bombing the United States? Didn't he tweet that on Christmas? Yeah, he must be our greatest ally.
Well, let me just say this. Let's just go back to the General Flynn thing, because I'm going to read this. I think everyone deserves to hear this. This General Flynn said, "Breaking, we the people demand accountability. Dear Mr. President."
And starting tomorrow, China is doing a land, sea, and air drill surrounding the island of Taiwan.
Yeah.
Totally peaceful.
Fun. Yeah, totally.
Woohoo. Sorry, keep going.
I know you were listening to We the People. The message is sent on behalf of a very frustrated 79 million Americans who voted for you, and the millions more refused to be ignored. Therefore, we are designating 2026 as the year of accountability. Why now? Because the country is at a breaking point. Our freedoms are being chipped away in plain sight. Our government has grown bloated, arrogant, and unaccountable. Public trust has not merely declined, it is obliterated. Power has been stripped from citizens and hoarded by bureaucrats, agencies, and unelected elites. Those who call themselves leaders protect each other while the American people pay the price. Civic duty has vanished from classrooms, replaced by obedience and ideology. The family, once the backbone of our nation, has been systematically weakened and devalued. Enough is enough. At its core, this is not partisan. All Americans are demanding accountability. We, the people, reject the lies, the gaslighting, the censorship, and the deliberate erosion of our lived reality over the past decade. We remember what was done. We know who did it. We are no longer willing to move on without consequences. The message is unmistakable and unstoppable. Americans demand accountability. So, Mr. POTUS, Mr. President, the question to you to answer is simple. Will you stand with We the People, or will you protect the system that failed us? Make 2026 the year of accountability. We will stand with you through thick and thin, like we always have, but you must respect our wishes. If you don't, as our founders warned, the deep state concentration of power in government will lead to greater corruption and eventual tyranny. And your legacy and history will be tarnished beyond repair. Respectfully, one of the 79 million voters. Whew.
So I think the average Joe is now right, because there's like levels of like waking up, right? It's corrupt, and then it's like counterpoint, so it's corrupt. All right, back and forth. But you start to hit this flow chart of inevitability.
Yeah.
Where it's everyone's aware that we are the bulwark against tyranny across the entire globe, and it is now at a tipping point. So it's like it's midnight. All right, but it's midnight on the last day of the month. Okay, what day of the month? December 31st. Oh, and as you start to realize, there are different tiers of like, well, it's midnight on, August 1st. Okay, whatever. But as you start to zoom out and you realize more and more, this is a Band-Aid that's like holding two cinder blocks kind of together. And it's at a point to where you can't do it to the next night at midnight, the next week at midnight, the next end of the month at midnight. It's the last hour of the last day of the last month of the millennia type thing. And it's now we're at a point where most people are like, oh, we really can't keep pushing this on.
Yeah. So let me address a comment in the comments here. I have two, one that's on Pilled, one that's on, so I want to address them both if I can, make sure I got this right. All right. Make sure I had that up before I do it. Mod Trend said, Trump is bombing the drug facilities, yet he pardoned former Honduran President Juan Orlando Hernandez, who was convicted of conspiring to import over 400 tons of cocaine into the United States. Okay. So I want to address this in such a way, because I did say that I said, make it make sense. But let me make it make sense to you. At 16 years old, I was trafficking drugs. I was really good at it. I was good at it.
I don't doubt
I was really good at it. But I didn't traffic from the standpoint of, they'd have you have to deliver a brick of something, right? Backpack. And I had my money and they had their money. And so I never did drugs. So I didn't do drugs, but I needed to survive. And I will go back to, and I'm just going to say this, and it might not be right, but there was a tipping point in my life that I made where I could have stayed in that life. I truly believe I never would have gotten caught. Why? Well, because I thought I was too smart. I thought I was the smartest guy in the room, always the smartest guy in the room. I learned that I wasn't, because I almost got caught. And then I was like, yeah, no, maybe I don't want to go down this road. But there was a tipping point in my life where I started to taste success in a way that I was not used to seeing in my real life. Like when you grow up poor, you don't go to restaurants that are nice restaurants that are, you put napkins on your lap. You just don't do those things. I mean, your idea of a 5-course meal is Applebee's. And back in the day, and it's not funny, by the way. Selling drugs is not funny. It's not a funny thing. Not being in that environment is not funny. But the funny part is that when you grow up, where I would eat Spam out of a can, like Chef Boyardee, the ravioli Chef Boyardee, man, I loved Chef Boyardee. And if you got the big can, I could eat a whole can of it. And ramen noodles to this day are still in my cupboard. I eat ramen noodles. Matter of fact, I have some here. I call me crazy, but it's my way of, it's familiar. And even as I got older, I still wanted something that was familiar. But something changed. I learned how to put a napkin on my lap. I learned how to not go to fight or flight first. Like if somebody would say something that criticized me, I didn't get straight to, I'm going to tear your teeth out because you disrespected me. But that's how I grew up. And so I'm not apologizing for him. And I'm not saying that giving him a pardon was right or wrong. But you have no idea what it's like to live in a third world country. And your opportunities are pro soccer player, in this case, or drug dealer. I mean, that's it, Tommy. Those are your choices. And so I got to tell you, I did not have a problem with him pardoning the former Honduran president. I would never sell drugs today. I would never participate in that lifestyle. I would never have an abortion today. I would never want to ever go through a process where certain things in my life I did it. But is he so irredeemable that now, as the president of the former Honduran president, is he so irredeemable that he hasn't gotten to a place where maybe it wasn't 400? I don't know. I don't know what the deal is, but I do know that somewhere along the line, you come to a place where you can reconcile your differences. I don't know if that's the time for him now, but I can tell you, I'm not going to question President Trump. I have no idea what his motives were. I mean, if he starts pardoning pedophiles, him and I are going to have a serious fucking problem. But short of that, is anybody irredeemable? No. I don't even think Eric Coomer is irredeemable. Now, do I want to absolutely, I can't say on air how upset and frustrating it is that he's suing me for something he knows he did. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, this kabuki theater and the judges that are acting as henchmen for this evil. Oh yeah, man, it drives me crazy. Drives me absolutely crazy. Do I want to go right back to that demon on my shoulder where I want to hurt someone? Yeah. Yeah. True story. And I want to go, do I train for it? Yeah. Tommy, if you were to see me do my push-ups right now, matter of fact, I might actually do that. I might just knock out, 30 or 40 push-ups. You can see me just like.
You need to prove it to me. I believe you.
I prepare for it. I prepare for the idea that the death threats that we have. But I'm not okay. I'm not okay with the fact that he did the drugs. I just think that I'm not. Yeah. I've come to talk with you. I've come to talk with you again. It just doesn't sit right with me because once I stopped using drugs, I have no sympathy for drug dealers. I don't either. But I do understand them. I mean, was I a bad guy because I trafficked drugs? Yes. 1,000% I was. Did I participate in somebody else's misery? Yes. Did I do it because I had to survive? Yes, I did. And was it easier for me to make $5,000 a pop than it was to go get a job making $4.25 an hour? Go do the math. Because that's what it was when I was growing up. It's $4.25 an hour. And if you made $5 an hour, you were living large. So I can make $800 a month, kicking my teeth in, flipping burgers or doing something. Or I can make $5,000 in about 4 hours. The choice was very, very easy. I want Joe to hire mercenaries for bodyguards if he ever becomes governor for obvious reasons. Yes. And I'll be the first governor to carry a gun everywhere I go.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, it's craziness. Anyway, I mean, does it make me bad that I sold drugs?
No.
Yeah. In the moment, I would say yes.
If as you got older, wiser, closer to God, more aware of what drugs do, not as desperate, all your qualifiers, at a certain point, yes, it does. No, I don't think at the position you were. And again, it's back to like the Erica Kirk thing. I can only speak from my experience. This is a unique in the same way in that I have nothing near that experience. I grew up in a country club and went to private Catholic school starting in kindergarten. I don't think I can like speak with an ounce of reality about that. I've never gone without in my life. I've gone
without.
That's what I mean. It's like, so I can't. My dad grew up far below the poverty line, and he made it through business. But like, yeah, I wouldn't. If my dad told me one day, he's like, by the way, I was selling drugs till I was like 25, I'd be like, you're good. Like, you're good. Your life sucked. Everything sucked.
I set different rules for my kids. I said, if you ever do drugs, I'll tie you to the bumper of the car, drive you around in a snowstorm.
Same. Because we didn't grow up with any of those issues, Dad's rules were no F's on your report card, no getting women pregnant, no ending up in jail. Anything outside of that triangle, I'll kill you myself. It worked.
I mean, it
worked.
But I mean, look, it's a different mentality because my son said it to me. He goes, Dad, I've never had to hustle. And I was like, wow, that's interesting way to look at it. He goes, so I've never seen it the way you've seen. I've never seen life the way. He goes, I wish I could. My son said, I wish I could see things the way you see things because you see them so clearly. Like you can assess a situation that quick. Like there was a reason why, Tommy, I was good. I mean, look, when I went to the Middle East and Africa, I learned Arabic, I learned it flying back and forth, Rosetta Stone. I would literally listen to it in my ears over and over and over and over and over again. And when I got there, it didn't matter to me. I had no ego and I didn't care about anything other than solving the problem, working the problem. And I was incredibly good at it. Didn't matter where I was. And I think it's that gift of, I actually think that more people that go through this stuff, the reason why they made great CEOs, the reason why they made great commanders, leaders, things like that, is because if you don't forget where you came from and you have just enough where you actually have to basically fight tooth and nail in order to get to the next level, but you're willing to be humble and learn, man, the world is your oyster.
And I'd say you don't need that exact upbringing to cause it. I mean,
don't go through that.
No. Well, like, through all my life, I was always look at like my dad's upbringing. I'm like, yeah, it was horrible, but I'm like, he's made him to do. Like, my dad was the youngest ever vice president of Tyson Chicken back in the '90s, like by decades. Like, and I always look at that. I'm like, that dude was a killer. And
He was a Tyson Chicken.
Yeah, way before they were fucked. Then he left on his own accord because they started using illegal immigrants. But neither here nor there. I always looked at that and was like, man, that's something I'm glad I didn't, but I'm also kind of wish I had it. And getting into med school is like the first thing I kind of like cut my teeth on. I'm like, that was cool. That was extremely difficult. I beat out 99 point, literally, I think it was 99.9 or 99.98% of the competition. Building the podcast, especially a couple years after my brother, that's been like my own kind of gauntlet in my own way that I would never wish on anyone. But yeah, it absolutely has made me who I am, which makes me think that like you don't necessarily have to grow up in that life to have it happen. If you commit yourself to a goal, the amount that you need to commit itself will create that environment around you. Now, is my environment that I'm going hungry or going without water or medicine? No, but it's what do I have to do to grow the podcast to, what was the holy grail to get to enough point where I'd pay my rent? Yeah, you do have to go through a filtration. You do have to go through a micron, filter to a point where it removes all of the horse shit around you. And at the same time, the only way it can keep guiding you, because for the vast majority of the time, you're not going to even make a penny, is you have to get very right with God or some set of morals. So I think if you want to pursue something to the nth degree, not just kind of make it and do okay, if you want to slaughter the competition, that environment will eventually be formed around you. And again, it's not that without food or water, it's what do I have to do to get to this point? What do I have to do to get to that point? And if you want something, though, that environment will rise up around you and then filter you through it. So again, I mean, I think it's a dichotomy of like, I would never want anyone to ever lose their brother to suicide. I would also, I mean, I would do anything to have my brother back. But seeing as how I can't do that, I would do nothing to change the fact that it happened, because it has absolutely sculpted my soul into what I am. And it's weird because I would do anything to make sure no one ever went through that, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. So I don't know. Maybe sell drugs. I don't know where I was going with that.
Well, I mean, it still bothers me to this day that, I mean, and by the way, Mord2357 said, and this is a really amazing point. Joe's working hard to make people forget the question he's pretending to answer. Not everything is about you being a drug dealer at 16, Joe. Okay, good point. Right?
Hold on. I've known Joe for almost 2 years. I've never heard this story in my life. What the fuck are you talking? Not everything is about this. I've never heard Joe bring this up.
I mean,
I bring up my brother every episode. I've never heard you bring that up. What are you talking about?
Yeah, so he also says the Honduran president was not 16 years old. I said, good point. And then I said, but he did live in a narco state. And Mord says, residing over a narco state, do the boat runners deserve pardons because they're from narco states? Imagine being in the machine. It's the only way he got to the top, which is what I'm presiding over the narco state. And then, good point when you talk about the boat runners.
Sure.
And then I said, I do not have an answer for you. Once the first boat was blown up, you know the consequences. In other words, I knew what I was getting myself into when I sold drugs. I did. And here's another thing. It is not about me selling drugs at 16, but if you never sold drugs at 16, if you never had to worry about where your next meal was, or if you had to worry about where you could live, there are things that you will do. There are things that you will absolutely do to make sure you can survive. If you're a survivor, you will do those things. So this is that whole thing where, I spent a lot of time helping inmates, guys that get out, that are felons that get out after serving 10 years of a 20-year sentence. The reason why I help them, why? Because I don't want them looking at the rearview mirror. They paid their debts to society. Now it's time to move on. It's time to actually make yourself a productive part of society. Does that mean that I shouldn't, that I deserve to basically put a scarlet letter on their front forehead and say, okay, now you're a felon. Now you can't have anything, no opportunity? No. So the reality still stands. And that is once the first boat was blown up, you knew the consequences. I mean, it got around fast. Hey, Julio got blown up into pieces. And they say they're blowing up the boats. I can outrun them. Yeah, let's see how that works out for you. You knew the consequences. I knew the consequences. And frankly, this is about the pardon for the ex-president. There are a lot of people that deserve pardons. And there are a lot of people that don't deserve to be in prison. I'm going to be called a racist for being like, one got blown up. Oh, amigo, he's just going down in a boat. He was just trying to fish. He was fishing for some heroin.
Who cares? Who cares if they call you a racist? He got blown up, man. He got blown up.
So I want to put this out there really quick. Let's talk about some other stuff other than the narco state, getting away from it.
I don't know. It's pretty big news that we started bombing a nation.
This is
pretty big news.
This is Elon Musk. I'm more upset about Elon Musk running away from the machines and the mail-in ballots because he knows what he had to do, what had to be done in the 2024 election for President Trump to win. But he put up this post that says Walt's actively scamming elections. In 2023, Walt signed a law letting illegals get driver's licenses. Minnesota officials confirmed it's now possible for them to vote. This is literally 7 hours ago. Now, listen, it doesn't matter if they're illegal or not illegal. It all ties back to a system that was designed by a company like Fox IT, who was funneling information about people in the United States with social security numbers and everything else overseas. So they could create an entire group of people that were fake, that they could just inject into the system in the United States. It is a system of fraud, an absolute system of fraud. Let's play this video from the Post.
It's done.
A packed room at the St. Paul Armory erupted after the governor's signature made driver's license for all the law of the land.
So we give driver's licenses to anyone here. You don't have to be a citizen. You don't have to, which is a photo ID. So if someone comes in, they register, they have the driver's license, but they have an incorrect social or no social or whatever. So then they become incomplete. But if they walk in to vote with their driver's license, does that make them all of a sudden now okay?
Mr. Linnell.
Madam Chair, so the designation on the roster for someone whose registration had been incomplete, if they present the election judge with that acceptable identification document, that would clear the challenge from the roster and they would be permitted to cast a ballot.
Mr. Anderson.
Well, okay, there's your problem potentially. So thank you.
So just to clarify, someone who is not a citizen but presents a driver's license at that point in the process could be permitted to vote.
Madam Chair, at the time of registration, as well as at the time of submitting a ballot, every voter is signing the attestation affirming their eligibility to vote, including that they meet all eligibility requirements, that they are a U.S. citizen.
They don't need it though. See, this is all kabuki theater. Let me just be very clear right now. You will never have a free and fair election in the entire country if you have machines and mail-in ballots. It will never happen. You won't have one today. You didn't have one 8 years ago. You didn't have one 16 years ago. We have fraudulent elections across the entire country right now. And the fact that we are gaslighting still and still having the conversation when we're talking about what happened in Serbia and what happened down in Venezuela and all of the other things that we're dealing with is bullshit. It's bullshit. You want to know something else? You want to know something else? Just so I can put this out there for you. I want to play this. This is 1 minute and 27 seconds. And play this, will you? Just play this piece real quick. I just put this on one of the socials. CanCon put it up. CanCon good. John Eastman said this on January 6th. January 6th, John Eastman was the person that basically just grilled me. He said this. I'll explain why that could be so significant to what happened and this is what he's talking about. He's talking about Georgia. Okay, let's go ahead and play that video. Need time or you're good? All right, go ahead and download it. In the meantime, let's go through this if we would. Mike Lindell is running for governor of Minnesota, and he was asked by Jack Posobiec what he would do about the fraud in Minnesota. We shut down the Somali fraud rings. How long would it take you to shut down a fraud ring, Tommy?
What do you mean?
How long would it take you? Drop yourself there.
As what? From what position of power?
How long would it take you to shut down a fraud ring? There's fraud happening. They're getting money. If you were the governor, how long would it take you to shut it down?
Oh, less than a day.
It should take less than 5 minutes. It would suspend every dollar that's going out, every dollar would be suspended, correct?
Voided immediately.
What do you think is happening right now?
State of emergency, voided immediately.
What do you think is happening right now? This is, by the way, hundreds of millions of dollars. Hundreds of millions of dollars. So Mike answered, for sure, Waltz, Omar, and Keith Ellison all in prison, and I'm taking down the satanic statue in the Capitol. Jack, it is way worse than anyone is hearing. No, it's not way worse, though, Mike. It's not. We actually know how worse it is. We know how worse it is. We know how worse it is. It is that worse. It is worse. It is bad. It is really, really, really bad. And here, by the way, this is fraud in Minnesota. This is 1 minute, 42 seconds of Nick Shirley's video. It's 42 minutes long. It'd be worth actually watching the entire thing. Let's go ahead and play this for Nick Shirley.
Hello, we'd like to ask where the money's going. What do you guys think about the fraud that's taking place here in Minnesota?
I don't think anybody is enabling fraud to happen.
Hold Governor Walz accountable for this.
What was this money spent on? 1.26 million. What was that money spent on? There aren't any kids.
Answer the question. Are there children? There's no children inside this building.
Potentially the largest fraud scandal in U.S. history is taking place in Minnesota, as literally billions of dollars have been funneled through Somali-ran fraudulent businesses. So much fraud, it could actually almost replace the entire GDP of Somalia. These fraudsters have worked hand in hand with the Minnesota government as they enabled billions of dollars to be given to fraudulent businesses underneath welfare purposes. Some of this money eventually landed in the hands of terrorist groups in Somalia like the Al-Shabaab, and others enriched themselves all at the US taxpayers' expense. And in this video we will break down all of the fraud from start to finish, from going to the fraudulent businesses and confronting the people who are making millions of dollars from the government. And we will also be confronting the incompetent government leaders who let this fraud happen. And to make this happen, I met up with a man who's been doing his own investigation for years now, as he has seen the fraud firsthand. His name is David. Let's get into this and be prepared to be shocked. How deep is this fraud here inside of Minnesota?
It is far worse than anybody can imagine. You heard it's 7 to 10 billion and maybe more, and now the numbers have been revised and put out there publicly that they think it's more like 8 billion. How I got involved is that where my office is here in Minneapolis, I'm sort of in the heart of all of this fraud, and I would see these childcare centers. I said, well, there aren't any kids there. It's the middle of the day, and all I see are a couple of guys standing out front smoking. And then I'd go by another daycare and I'd see the same thing. I said, well, where do these kids play? And so I started to go online and look, and I said,
how about that? And here, we played this before. This is at another Learing Center. It's the Learing Center.
The Learing Center.
This is a Learing Center. Go ahead, play it.
Here in Minnesota, massive fraud is taking place within the government and the Somali population. Here, this building alone, Quality Learning Center, is a daycare, yet they spelled learning wrong and they said leering. This daycare alone in 2025 has received $1.9 million from the government. And the strange things about these childcare centers is there's no one here right now. It's midday on a weekday. And if you were to try to go inside, it's completely closed and the windows are all blacked out. No one's working, midday, children should be in here, and this place is licensed for 99 children, and this is the outside. There's no windows, no nothing, and like I said, they literally spelt the word wrong on their sign. This is open and blatant fraud taking place here inside of Minnesota. The government is complicit with this, and this is just one of the hundreds of child daycare centers here inside of Minneapolis being ran by the Somali population. It's sad that it's happening here in Minnesota, and it stinks that it's happening and it's being labeled on the Somali population. However, that's just the facts of what's happening here inside of Minnesota. $1.9 million for this daycare center that can't even spell learning right.
Okay, that number on there, can you guys confirm this? Let me see the number. What's that?
It doesn't work. Yeah, people are trying.
Yeah, 612-702-4012. Doesn't work, doesn't exist.
It's not connected.
Yeah. And here's something else. Here's a multiple corrupt Minnesota judges are under fire for dismissing a flurry of recent Somali fraud cases. Judge Sarah West, Atafada Youssef, Judge Amber Brennan, Youssef's wife Luna Ahmed, Judge Hilary Caliguri, co-defendant Abdulweli Mohammed. Millions of dollars stolen, but the conviction wasn't allowed because the judge said so. These judges won their recent races entirely with no opposition. These are the white liberal women, probably part of the synagogue of Satan. Probably almost all of them, if I had to guess. Well, Amber Brennan, you think she's related to CIA Director Brennan? Brennan, you think so? You think so?
Probably.
And the synagogue of Satan people, the Jewish, how many of those do you think are part of it? I'd probably say probably all three of them. Yeah, all three of them. Tommy, how do we get rid of the fraud if the fraud is basically everywhere around? It's all consuming.
Interaction. I said this 2 weeks ago.
And how do you get rid of the judges at the state level? How do you get rid of it? I mean, look, it's going to take quite a bit.
It's going to take. You have to hit the nuclear button. There's no gotcha. There's no primarium. It's the voting, the judges. It's rotted to the core. The fire has reached the basement. Like there isn't. You have to roll out the military and then treat the country like a war zone. There is no other answer. There's not. There just isn't. Everything else is just slow walking horse shit. That at best is naivety, at worst is complicity.
Yeah.
You have to roll out no one in, no one out. Shut the border both ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's unequivocally the answer.
Well, I think the issue is right now is that we're in a pretty fluid state. Look, I can tell you right now, I have no appetite for these enforcers, for these Guidos, these people that they have, judges that are basically enforcing the lawlessness that's being created. We would not be in a place where we are right now if we did not have selected leaders. Everything ties back to the election system, every single bit of it. And I remember when I was actually reporting on Raul, who was a whistleblower over in Romania, who had to go from house to house, who's currently in jail right now, who has been he has been beaten, abused, you name it, that has happened to him. He's in jail right now, who provided me with buckets of information that I handed over to the government. I handed over to the good guys. And you know what happened to him? Nothing. Nothing. We had social security numbers. We called people And we said, did you vote? We found them that they voted in one state, and they're like, no, I live here in a different state. Nothing happened. They did nothing with it. I need to probably do that special again. All right, here's do we have that post yet for John Eastman? All right, let's put it up. Let's play it.
We know there was fraud, traditional fraud that occurred. We know that dead people voted. But we now know, because we caught it live last time in real time, how the machines contributed to that fraud. And let me, as simply as I can, explain it. You know, the old way was to have a bunch of ballots sitting in a box under the floor, and when you needed more, you pulled them out in the dark of night. They put those ballots in a secret folder in the machines, sitting there waiting until they know how many they need. And then the machine, after the close of polls, we now know who's voted and we know who hasn't. And I can now, in that machine, match those unvoted ballots with an unvoted voter and put them together in the machine. And how do we know that happened last night in real time? You saw when it got to 99% of the vote total, and then it stopped. The percentage stopped, but the votes didn't stop. What happened, and you don't see this on Fox or any other stations, but the data shows that the denominator, how many ballots remain to be counted? How else do you figure out the percentage that you have? How many remain to be counted? That number started moving up. That means they were unloading the ballots from that secret folder, matching them to the unvoted voter, and voila, we have enough votes to barely get over the finish line.
Okay, I'm going to tell you guys something. Ready? Do you know where he got all that information? And by the way, this is on January 6th of 2021.
Yeah, no, I recognize it.
Do you know where he got all that information?
You?
From me.
Really?
I spent 2 days with John Eastman. 2 days. With other people from the NSA, people that came in that grilled me on January 5th and January 4th and 5th. All that information you just heard from John Eastman, he got from me. How did I know? How did I know? How on January 6th did he know about secret folders and the fact that they had the ability? No, listen, we didn't have any audits.
Sure.
We had no audits. We had nothing.
Yeah, how did you know that?
How did I know it?
I don't know.
This is my whole point. I told him what would happen. That we would get to the very end, the systems would come down, they'd come back up. And in my model, do you guys have my model? I think this is probably one of the most important revelations. It just got put up again. Revelations that we should probably speak about. On January 6th of 2021, the day of the insurrection, this was at Ellipsis Center. This is where President Trump spoke. It's where John Eastman got up right afterwards. I was asked to go. They said, Joe, will you go to the Ellipsis? And John came in and met with me, and he ran through a bunch of questions with me, and I answered the questions for him, and I pushed it back out. And what he just said on that stage at the Ellipsis, 100% of that, mark it down, 100% of what he said came from me. And any of you out there are welcome to call John Eastman. I sent him a text message the other day. He didn't respond to me. And, he has said that I've gotten a raw deal. And a part of me feels very bad about being sick and not being able to travel to go testify in California. But the other part is that I was told by my lawyers not to do it. And I was told it was a complicated deal, very complicated, because I felt like it would have done more. They felt like it would have done more harm than good. And then the second time I was set to go back out there. Anyway, how did I know? How did I know? Here's the thing right here in front of you. Internet connection right up top shows the thing where it has the absentee ballots, and you have the scanner, and you have the what I call 1 and 2, right? So you have, hopefully that picture looks better in the real time. Okay. And you have the tabulators where you have the fake and phantom ballots. Guys, I'm going to tell you right now, I presented this and put the little numbers on it for John, and they went and took it to president. This is why I know. I mean, the idea that I'm full of shit is absurd. It's not just pathetically absurd, it's absurd. The fact that somewhere along the line, someone would say, Joe had this unfounded deal with Eric Coomer. What John Eastman said on that stage on January 6th of 2021, 100% of what he said came directly from me. Not 5%, not 10%, not 25%. I came in, showed him a model, walked through it. I took that model to Patrick Byrne. I was at the Trump Hotel, downtown DC. And they were like, we need to meet with Patrick. I went up to the third level where Patrick had his room, walked in. He's still in his pajamas. He's in his bedroom, comes out, meets with me. I'm like, this is how they stole the election. He goes, well, that's a nice theory. I said, sir, this is not a theory. This is how they stole the election. And this is what's going to happen for the runoff election tomorrow night, because that was the 4th.
Mm-hmm.
And on January 5th, I got on the stage at Freedom Plaza. Huh?
I said, I remember yeah, because it was everyone's like, you're going to watch it again. Here it comes again.
I don't say that because I want credit for it. I say that because of the timing. January 6th, 2021, Mesa County, Mr. President, I will just talk right directly to Mr. President. Mr. President, President Trump, listen to me. If on January 6th, I was told you need to go meet with President Trump, and I met with Christina Bobb, I met with all these people, Mayor Giuliani, I met with all of them, every single one of them. And they all said you need to go meet with President Trump. And then they came into my company and they tried to create a coup against my company by saying that I was at J6 and created this whole story with a guy that used to work for HSBC. And he was promptly fired, but not before they tried to take all of the money out of my bank, out of my company, right? While I was out of town. That was January 7th, right? 2 days later. January 8th, I was supposed to go meet with President Trump. Mark Meadows blocks it. True story. That's the reality. Despite Mr. Lindell's mistakes, his unwillingness to listen to you, are you going to full support of him? He's an anti-machine maniac. Avery said that. Am I going to support Mike Lindell?
That's something you probably need. It's not fair to put you on the spot for that.
It's a fair question.
No, sure enough. But there are things I do on the podcast where I'll answer on a whim, and there are other things where I'm like, let me sleep on that.
I probably need to sleep on that. You're right.
Yeah, there's no gun in your head. Yeah.
This is why I'm so dangerous, and this is why they have done everything they can to come after me. And as I'm sitting here, I just had an aha moment. I had an aha moment. Guys, that was an aha moment. That is, you can probably cut that one part and put it out there.
You
Everything.
How smart and awesome Tommy is in that moment. It
is not about taking credit for anything.
Yeah.
It's the opposite, actually. Imagine being so on point and yet so slandered and defamed by not the left, but the people that say they're on our side. And do you know who went to Mike Lindell and told him, get rid of Joe, get rid of Joe, get rid of Joe, get rid of Joe. He'll screw up everything. Steve Bannon. Treated me like a piece of shit. Fuck that guy. I want to punch that fat man right in the face.
He hasn't showered this decade.
Oh, and he sat in front of my face and just sat there and just, how you doing, Joe? Good. I'm good. And the biggest part, someone actually once said that to me. They said, Joe, you know what the biggest part is about you? Is that you can see through things. So people don't want to be in the same room with you because you can figure it out. They know you can figure it out. And I can. It's a weird deal. I can figure it out. But
that's why I always tell people you're just involved in, with the podcast and everything behind it, everything I have to do for it. I just found very early on, not only was it the right thing to do the right thing, I've also found it was the most simple business doctrine because anything else, people are eventually going to find out. You have to put on a face. You have to remember which lies. I found I think it's a Winnie the Pooh quote. You don't have to remember anything if you tell the truth.
100%. You should be able to, but you should be able to tell the truth and the other guy not take you and sue you for slander when you know it's not slander.
Well, yeah.
So Tommy, I'll just say this. Where did I find Eric Coomer? If he wasn't on the call and he didn't say the things that he said, where'd I find him? In a hat while I was up there elk hunting? I found him in a hat. I mean, it's like a cat in a hat deal. It's like, I found him in a hat. Oh, and he happens to be an Antifa guy. He happens to be a skinhead. He happens to be a drug addict. He happens to be, you see how many happen to be's you have? He hates Trump, hates. And all of a sudden, somewhere along the line, I'm some sort of like magic genie, or maybe I was clairvoyant. It was clairvoyance time, sitting with my friends trying to hunt elk. That makes sense, right? And I wanted to blow up my entire life and take what I thought was my off-ramp of business so I can do and serve and do the things that I want to do. I wanted to blow all of that up because I wanted to go after a guy like Eric Coomer who runs into a building, lies about it like a psychopath, goes in, drinks shots, almost runs someone over leaving the scene, says he didn't do it, have a lawyer show up and negotiate on the side of the road in Salida. He did that. And I, somewhere along the line, I'm the bad guy. Oh no, and I didn't even know at the time that he was at the genesis of Sequoia voting systems. You see the problem? You see the problem, Tommy? And it's not the left. It's the problem. It's the people on our side that basically walked around. Here, I want to show you something. I'm going to put this out there. Do you know who Leah Hoops is? So Leah Hoops is, she is in Pennsylvania, wrote a book with a guy named Greg Stostrup. And so I put up the stuff about Jim Penrose. Okay. And so Jim Penrose, she goes into the post on Jim Penrose's post and just puts a bunch of stuff on it. Like all sorts of stuff about Stephanie Lambert, who she doesn't like. So she doesn't like Stephanie Lambert. Okay, you don't like Stephanie Lambert. Get over it. Now, I put up a post about Jim Penrose because Jim Penrose is directly connected to Obama and John Brennan. Okay? And he was the initial expert that put out a report. Find me that deal, will you? Find me that thing on if you would, for me. Puts up a post. All right, put up a post that basically is a picture of Jim Penrose with Obama or with John Brennan, but got accolades and awards from Obama as well. Was well recognized by Obama. So he was a very good. He's definitely an expert, and he wrote something that was in direct contrast to the Haldeman report. Right? Once you find it, put it up. So I put it up there because I'm trying to get Jim Penrose to do the right thing. Come forward. You're an expert. You know that Dominion, you said it was the nexus. You knew it was the nexus of all the issues that happened. And from Dominion flowed everything to ES&S, just back to SmartMatic, to Hart InterCivic. All the different problems that we have in the country with election systems come from that genesis. Sequoia voting systems, directed by SmartMatic, directed to Eric Coomer, John Polos, right there. Okay. So I tell her to take it down. I said, take the comment down. We're trying to talk about Jim and getting Tina out, right? And she wrote all this stuff where they going after me. It's all about Stephanie. She's bad. And then she says, you get people free with the truth. Is that true, Tommy? Do you get people free with the truth?
Yes, but there's no definition on what the timeline is.
So the process is the punishment.
Yes.
Okay. So I said it's not about her. It's not about her. It's not about me. It's not about you, Tommy. It's not even about President Trump. It's about like righting this ship. It doesn't matter who takes credit for it, who gets credit. None of that matters. It makes zero difference. The thing that we should be pointing at is that we had this information in 2020. We had all of it. But we had to suffer through the process for 5 years. And yet these feckless cowards are still out there saying, nothing to see here. There's no crime. It didn't happen. The elections are free and fair. They're still parroting the same bullshit. That's my problem. That's why I have such a problem with it. I want to crush people. The Somali problem, MSNBC is not only not wanting to talk about the Somali fraud, but they're claiming the opposite now. So this is the opposite day. Let's go ahead and play cut 7.
The question is, why is this a priority in a different kind of way? The politicization of the DOJ and the FBI is undeniable. So whether they are reliable narrators is the big question. And this is what happens when you weaponize and politicize federal agencies that are not meant to be, politicized. And I think the American people are right to ask the question, well, can we trust you? And that's a sad thing to say as an American. Let's recall, too, that there's also other scandals in other states. For example, the Mississippi welfare scandal. And this is not unique to politics. Americans know that. But, of course, the other factor here is that because it looks like the Somali population in Minnesota, the Somali immigrant population may have been involved in some way, those people are being scapegoated, and that community is being scapegoated in a way that certainly serves the far right. And so that's also something to keep an eye on, and that's inappropriate, absolutely.
Just like the Shirley kid said, he's doing no credit taken away from him. He's doing great work. But even in his line outside, it's unfortunate that's falling on the Somali population. No, it's not unfortunate, nor is it fortunate. It's just what it is. The fact that we have to baby around this shit and say, well, this is going to be used to get. There's that Norm Macdonald joke, September 12th, 2001. He goes, I'm just worried about the racist backlash this is going to have against Muslims. Like, well, yeah, so the fact that we have to dance around this, well, how is this going to make them look? Hey, man, if it's one daycare, if it's one group of 5 people, yeah, a witch hunt would be unethical. If it's hundreds and they're all not kind of unfull, they're empty, fuck these people. And it's not fuck them because they're Somalis. It's fuck the group of people that did it. If they happen to be Somalis, then it is. If it happens to be a bunch of dudes named Tommy, then it is. It's not a screed against the name Tommy.
Agreed.
But to baby around it and go, well, let's maybe not attack all Tommy. Why are you immediately coming to their defense? People should be mad. The far right, they should be mad.
They should.
So it's being prefaced with, well, it's very unfortunate. It's very unfortunate. The archetypes exist for a reason. Stereotypes exist for a reason. Statistics exist for a reason. You don't look at a deer and go, man, I hope that deer doesn't eat my dog. If you look at a wolf and go, yeah, most wolves tend to do that. It's not a bias against wolf. It's pattern recognition. And the inability or the willing unconscious, the willing conscious ability to ignore patterns. What are we even doing? We're preemptively penalizing the right for the backlash against a group of people who have defrauded $9 billion, almost their entire GDP, from a single one of 50 states in a country who owes them nothing.
I would agree.
I just hope there's no backlash against Somali.
Yeah,
I found out, it turned out that Tommy was a convicted pedophile. Cops kicked out his storage, found a bunch of hard drives. Man, I'm just worried about his Spotify numbers because there tends to be backlash again. I bet Oltmann's going to stop having him on his show. I can see it now. you know Oltmann's going to take advantage of this. And this is just what I hate about the far right. What about the hard? He had the hard drives with the 5-year-olds on it. It's just, they're going to come from, especially right around the holidays.
They don't care. That's my point. They don't care.
No. They do care. They care about them more than they care about you. If that was a group of white people, there's a bunch of white Irish guys like me, they're not going to do the same thing. They're not going to go, let's watch out for the backlash. They're going to actively stoke it. So they do care. I will disagree with you, Joe. They do care. They care about them. They hate you. It would be a blessing if they didn't care. That would be a great day to reach neutrality. But it's not that. It's not. It's active hatred. Fuck these people. Excuse my French.
Well, I gotta tell you, it is. There's one more thing that you need to hear about the Somali problem. Let's just play it.
Only Americans who's concerned with the Somali business is the ones who have no life. They have a lot of time in their hand. They broke. They don't have no money, no ambition, nothing. They don't even have hobbies. They depressed. They lonely. There's always those type of people who care about situations like this. People who have something going on for their life, right? They're busy in their career, their family, they taking vacation, they're enjoying their life. They're not concerned with the Somalians in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Only people you will see who's worrying about this is not even racist. They just broke. They just don't have anything going on. They're broken spiritually, physically, and financially. That's what it is. They don't have any.
I concur completely. So those people should be helped out with welfare seized from the Somalis. And also, I do agree, they're very bored and they have nothing going on, which is why I call on them to form militias and take it into their own hands. Fuck off.
Well, let me just.
I forgot Joe's running for governor. I speak for Tommy Kerrigan and Tommy Kerrigan alone. I am in an entertainment program. Everything I do is an act.
So here's what I will say. I find it offensive. And look, you can say whatever you want. I mean, I frankly, this is a guy that says that we're broke. We're broke because you take 56 cents on every dollar and you give it to Somalis who then send it back to the Al-Shabaab so they can kill innocent men, women, and children and rape them and do whatever they want to them there.
That's why I'm saying take that same money and we'll make our own white terrorist group.
So I just want to be really clear about what I see here. I see a sense of entitlement from people that don't belong here. They need to go back to their country that they just sent $9 billion to, and you guys go figure it out there. But you can't go back there because, frankly, you would be irrelevant there as well because there's only a few people that get all the money. But all the money you have here that you sent back there, when we cut that off, you won't have, there will be nothing that you can do to get us to give you more money again. It won't happen. Once we get to the bottom of the Somali fraud, being a Somali will be like being a white person. You will be on the elite list. You're not getting nothing. Zero.
It's like that back when the Onion was still good, the early 2000s, and it's 16-year-old white girl T-boned the family, killed them, and the judge handed down the worst possible case. They said that she will be tried as a black adult. And that's what the whole thing is as they're going, no, and you even have all these people going, that's just unfair. That's just unfair. But yeah, no, that's where it is now. Like, man, you're gonna be lumped in with the white people. You ain't gonna have nothing. Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah, it's yeah. All right. Well, listen, I am running for governor of Colorado. I have a lot of great ideas. It's going to be really great. I frankly do understand the system. I mean, when you go back and you listen to the podcast, you'll see very clearly that I know what I'm talking about. This is not, if what I described is not actually what's happening in the state, and I'm going to say this again, if you have people that are elected, not selected, when you have people that are selected or elected, not selected, you don't have the problems where the country becomes what it's become. It doesn't happen. There's a rightful, it corrects itself.
Mm-hmm.
It can't correct itself when you have stolen elections at every level. You can't. It's impossible. It's impossible. All right, let's pray it out, yeah? All right, Father God, thank you for the opportunity to be here today. Thank you for Tommy. Thank you for Michael. Thank you for the people that are listening. Thank you for the people that have supported us for so long. As we head into 2026, Father, we know that there's a ton of work to be done. And as Michael said, we must be willing to stand. We must be willing to act. So, Father, I just ask you to give us the ability to cut through all the nonsense with truth and to have the courage of 1,000 lions who may get to the bottom of not just the election fraud, but the stealing of the voice and the ethics, the ethos of our country, that we may be able to restore our communities. We may be able to give back to people what was taken from them that was never someone else's to take. Help us, Father, that we may get to the bottom of this evil and root it out at every state and in every country. Father, we are in a time right now that, frankly, is just, there's too much to it. There's too much to describe. But I do want to say that we are grateful for, in the midst of all this, how many blessings you have poured out on individual people. Even in their darkest day or darkest hour, there's still you there, Father. There's still the promise of what happens after this life, and there's still the promise of what blessings we can enjoy in this life, relationships, our family, even the smallest things that, frankly, we take for granted. So, Father, please bless us with the ability to be grateful, but also the understanding that it is our time to serve. I say these things humbly in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. In the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Joe.
Okay. God bless you, brother.
Thank you, sir. I love you,
That's
as
fun.
always.
Love you too.
And
right.
See you tomorrow.
Hey, we got a new song.
Play it.
You want to hear the new song?
Yeah, sure. Play it.
All right. So this is a song called Governor Oltmann. Sure you want to hear it before we go?
It better be to like
Play it.
war music.
Rising from the fight for the forgotten and the free, exposing rigged machines, Coolmer's lies, Dominion's deceit, pays a grand each day, shielding truth from corrupt halls, but he won't back down, standing tall through it all. Tina Peters break the chains that bind her tight, hand count votes and one day bring the fraud to light. No more mailing scams, no machines to steal the night. Restore the people's voice, make Colorado right. Governor Oltmann, lead us bold and true. Badass for the have-nots, fighting through and through. Abolish property tax, cut the tolls away. Shrink the bloated state, let the people have their say. Oltmann, it's our rally call. Truth and freedom rising, watch the tyrants fall. Untamed Colorado, strong and proud, we'll be one man for the people, set our great state free. Help the single moms, bring back trade school strong. Opportunity for youth, where the brave belong. Audit every NGO, ban the wolves that roam. Reclaim our stolen land, bring the power home. Eric Coomer's fraud, Dominion's rigged design, expose the stolen votes, cross the dangerous line. No more victimhood, no chains on you and me. He's running for governor for real liberty. Smash the fraud machine, pardon heroes jailed for the have-nots. Rising truth will never fail. One warrior defies the corrupt elite. Colorado reborn, strong on our feet. Governor Oltmann, lead us bold and true. Badass for the have-nots, fighting through and through. Abolish property tax, cut the tolls away. Shrink the bloated state, let the people have the say. Governor Oltmann, it's our rally call. Truth and freedom rising, watch the tyrants fall. Untamed Colorado, strong and proud, we'll be one man for the people, set our great state free. Governor Oltmann,
Yeah. That was awesome.
Rise up untamed. In the heart of the fight where the wild ones roam, Joe Oltmann's calling, bringing truth back home. From conservative daily to this untamed fire, we shatter the silence, lifting spirits higher. No chains can hold us, no lies can prevail. Authentic and fearless on this rugged trail. Patriots gather under stars and stripes. Untamed nation, igniting the night. Untamed nation, let the truth roll out in this land of the free. Standing proud from sea to shining sea, we won't back down. Catch the fire, wear the crown. Untamed nation, it's our battle song, motivating hearts where the brave belong. Yeah, untamed and wild, forever strong. Play it again all night long. Break the mold, chase the real. No more games, time to heal. Joe's voice leads the untamed crew. Truth matters through and through. Untamed nation, let the truth roll out in this land of the free. Standing proud from sea to shining sea, we won't back down. Catch the fire, wear the crown. Untamed nation, it's our battle song, motivating hearts where the brave